What's up, guys? This is Steve Hyder here with Gate City Sports Channel, and today we're going to talk about the predictions for the NFL, the way I see it, who I think is going to win each division, who I think is going to be in the playoffs, who I think is going to ultimately play in the Super Bowl, and who I think the Super Bowl winner will be. All right, guys, let's get to it. So the criteria I'm going to use to try to make this as impartial as possible and to have some kind of a scale to which I'm grading these teams. The way I'm going to view this, and I know that none of this stuff is, perfect, but I'm going to look at it from the organizational standpoint. So tell me about your owner, your GM, and your coach. Then I'm going to look at it from what I see as the major positions of importance. So your quarterback, what's your O line play, what's your D line play, and then from there, your skill positions. Um, there's one part of this we can't predict, which is that locker room, the team environment, and who just catches fire at the right time. That's a big part of it, but we can't know that at this point in the season, so we just kind of have to make some guess, make some guesses towards where we see things going. So, with that said, I'm going to start off. I'm going to go over to the AFC. I'm going to talk about the way I see the AFC working. The AFC East should not be a really hard division to predict. New England's going to win that division. Um, Behind New England, it's a whole lot of who cares because none of those teams are going to be ultimately competitive. But I do like the fact that if we're looking at it from an organizational standpoint, I like Joe Douglas there with the Jets, and I also like the fact that they have a quarterback in Sam Darnold. There's a lot of other question marks there, but they do have they have you know what I'm trying to say. They have Bell's their running back, so um, that's going to make them somewhat competitive from time to time. But past that, I would probably say the Bills would be that third place team, and then I would probably put the Dolphins last because the Dolphins are completely trying to tank. So to me, the AFC East is probably the easiest division of all to predict. I'm going to skip past the AFC North because I think it's honestly the hardest division to pick. I'm going to go out to the AFC West, which I think is the next easiest division to predict. So the AFC West, I'm going to say the Kansas City Chiefs. Um, Mostly because from an organizational standpoint, they have a great organization, a great owner, a great GM, and a great coach on Reed. They have uh, a little bit of an unknown to how good the quarterback's going to be, but we certainly know at the height of how good his ability can be, he's a really good Patrick Mahomes. Offensive line play is really good. Their defensive line play is going to be improved. Um, and they have the skill position players. I mean, Hardman, and then some of the other kids that got coming into play, Tyreek Hill and them. I mean, it's going to be good. LaShawn McCoy. It's going to be a very, very good football team. I think Damian Williams is there, so I mean, they're talented. They're very talented there. Behind them, I would say the Chargers. Um, I would have put the Chargers up higher in my projections because I think that from an organizational standpoint, I think from a quarterback standpoint, coaching standpoint, I think they have positives there. But their offensive line play is not very good this year. And it's hard to project them at this point. So I'm going to put them as second. I think the Broncos would be my next team because I think from an organizational standpoint, everything is there. A little unsettled on the coaching, but you know what? Their quarterback play is going to be much improved. You might not like Joe Flacco, but he's a good ball player. From there, I'd put Oakland. I think Oakland could be a potentially really, really bad football team this year. From there, we'll go to AFC South. In the AFC South, I see the Colts winning that division. Once again, I'm going to go from the organizational standpoint. I'm going to go to their coaching is really good. We're familiar. Frank Wright was our offensive coordinator during our Super Bowl run. Frank Wright is a very good coach. He's going to design a very good scheme, and he's going to be really good at playing calls. Jacoby Brissett is a lot better than a lot of people who don't know anything about him think that he is. He's way better. I mean, he's not Andrew Luck, but this is a very good quarterback still. Past that, they have very good offensive line play. They're definitely building around that skill set. I mean, Marlon Mack and Naheem Hines are very dynamic. Ebron's a decent tight end. You know, you still got some outside receivers there. T.Y. Hilton. I mean, they can play. It's a good football team. Um, Past that, I would put the Tennessee Titans next, and I'm going to explain why. From an organizational standpoint, they're a good organization. I do know that some people are going to say, yeah, but that quarterback position is really unsettled, and I agree. But go past the quarterback, and you have pretty good offensive line play, and you have pretty good defensive line play. When you compare that to the Texans have the organizational pieces there. The coaching, you know, is decent. The quarterback play is really good with Deshaun Watson, but that offensive line is not good. I mean, they've had to take a lot of drastic measures to try to improve it. And you know, the Texans could be a third place finisher, which is where I'm projecting them, or they could be a first place finisher. It's really dependent upon how well that offensive line plays because the skill set's there, skill position players are there. But I can't project any higher than third in a very competitive division if we're uncertain about your offensive line play. That's my perspective on it. Jacksonville, you know, I think Jacksonville, I think this division is a hard division to pick because I think all four teams are fairly good. My concern with Jacksonville is that Nick Foles has already got an oblique strain. So he's already going to start off not being healthy. On top of that, the offensive line playing Jacksonville is not very good. I question the skill set, those skill players. I'm not too sure. I mean, their defense, I think, could be top 10, top 12. But, you know, there's pieces there you like. You know, Fournette can be a dynamic player if he's healthy, one of the most dynamic in the NFL, but I'm not 100% on projecting them. Let's go to what I think is the hardest division to predict, and that's the AFC North. And I'm rolling with the Steelers winning that division. And I'm going to tell you why. Their offensive line play is one of the best in the NFL. It's going to be one of the best in the NFL this year. Their quarterback play is going to be good. We can question how good the skill position players are going to be, but they got a pretty good running back there. Juju Smith-Schuster still a very good wide receiver. I'm projecting Pittsburgh to win that division. I think Cleveland could be a big jump up and could be the second place finisher there. I think their offensive line plays a little questionable. They traded Zeitler, whatever his name is. He was an interior guard for them, and he was probably their best offensive lineman, and he's gone. I'm a little questionable in their offensive line play. They got a lot of skill position. They've got skilled players, no doubt about it. Running back, wide receiver, I mean, quarterback, like they've got that positioning parts down. I'm going to put Baltimore third because I think Baltimore has very good offensive line play. I think they have a really exceptional defense. But when I look at coaching, I don't know that Harbaugh's ever really lived up to the max potential, and he's a very good coach. I'm not saying he can't coach, but I mean he's faded over the last few years. And on top of the coaching being good but not maybe exceptional, I don't know how I feel about their quarterback play. And you know, Lamar Miller. Wow, you know what I meant there, guys. Um, he's a good ball player, and I watched a lot of his film. I got a chance to see him quite a bit when he was in Louisville, and he's a better athlete than quarterback, and that's the problem. Is I need to see him as a quarterback and not just an athlete. And until he shows that, I cannot project him above Cleveland and Pittsburgh right now. I think he's a good. I think he's a good athlete. Like I said, I think he's one of the best athletes in the league. But I mean, Lamar Jackson's going to have to show something. Um, Cincinnati Bengals would round that out. They're just not a very good team right now, so I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. There, I'm going to jump over to the NFC. We'll do the NFC, and then we'll talk about the way the playoffs I think would shake out. Okay, NFC predictions. So the NFC East. No, we'll come to that one last. Let's go and let's start out with the NFC West. So in the NFC West, this is going to be a controversial one, but I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. And I know that their offensive line is not the greatest, but I do believe in their quarterback. I do believe in their GM, and they have very good coaching and very good ownership. Um, Obviously, with Jadeveon Clowney there now, they have elite level pass rushing as well. The Rams. I put the Rams second in their division, and I'm going to tell you why. They lost two starters, I believe, on their defensive line. I know they lost Sue, and I think Taylor played on their D line as well. And then they lost Saffold, their best offensive lineman, as well. Those are some pretty major hits to take. In addition to that, Todd Gurley's got the arthritic knee. Like, I mean, there's some issues going on with the Rams. I do think that they're not going to be quite as bad as some people are projecting them to be. I think that they're still going to be a decent team, but I see reason for concern there. The next team I would put would be San Francisco. We'll have to see what Jimmy Garoppolo and San Francisco can do. I mean, there's a lot of injuries going on with the running back position, so we'll have to see there. And then Arizona, I would round out fourth. I don't think they're going to be very good this year. They'll be entertaining, but I don't think they'll be very good. The South, in the NFC South, I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers winning the division. And the reason why is that they have a top 10 defense. I don't know how healthy Cam Newton's going to be, but if he's healthy, they got the quarterback play. They have a very good defense. They have a good coach. They got good ownership. I would put this. I'm going to go with the Falcons next. The Falcons really focused on their offensive line during the draft, and they've got really good skill position players. Their defense is above average, and they can play. Good coaching, decent ownership. I would put them second. Third, I would put New Orleans. They're not. They have really good tackle play, but their interior line is very subject. I don't know how I feel about their interior line, and to be honest, Drew Brees did not look good down the stretch last year, and if that continues in this year, they're not going to do very well. Tampa Bay is they're a crap fire. Sorry for all you Tampa Bay Buck fans, just telling you the truth. You're not very good this year. The NFC North. I'm going to go with the Bears. That's a hard one to project because no one knows the question with Aaron Rodgers and the new connection with his coach, and Aaron Rodgers can really turn this entire division around. But I'm going to go with the Bears because I think Trubisky is a serviceable quarterback. He's not great, but he's serviceable. I think their offensive line play is very good. I think their defensive line play is outstanding. They have a good coach. They got good ownership. They got a good GM. So I'd put Green Bay next. Minnesota, I'd put third, and that's because their offensive line is not very good. And then I put Detroit. NFC East. Philadelphia, of course. I'm going Philly. But I will say this. Dallas does have a shot. And it's not because Dallas is the better team, because I honestly believe, and I think most people believe, Philadelphia is the much better team. I think Dallas has the easier schedule. Dallas doesn't play west of Dallas the entire year. Dallas doesn't have 3 away games in a row in October like Philadelphia does. Dallas is going to play the AFC East just like Philadelphia is, and they're going to play the NFC East just like Philadelphia is. So overall, that schedule's fairly easy. Dallas would be my second pick. Washington, I would say, would be third, and then the Giants would be fourth. All right, let's get into the playoffs. Okay, playoffs. So on the NFC side, number 1 overall seed and home field advantage going to the Philadelphia Eagles. The number 2 seed going to the Seattle Seahawks. The number 3 seed going to the Carolina Panthers. The number 4 seed going to the Chicago Bears. And then I have the number 5 seed is Dallas. And the number 6 seed is Atlanta. Yes, the defending NFC champions are left out of that. I can see an argument for the Los Angeles Rams making it in. I can see an argument with New Orleans making it in. I can see an argument with Green Bay making it in. But projecting right now, the way I feel about the way these rosters are lined up, the GM, the coaching, quarterback play, the offensive line play, defensive line play, I just have Dallas and Atlanta ahead of everybody else in that little pack. Wild card round. Atlanta versus Carolina, and Dallas versus Chicago. So I have Carolina taking out Atlanta, and I have the first upset. The upset being Dallas beating Chicago. Divisional round. I have Dallas versus Philly, and I have Carolina versus Seattle. No upsets in this round. I see Philadelphia handily beating Dallas, and I see Seattle winning their game against Carolina. All right, NFC Championship would be Seattle versus Philadelphia, and I have Philadelphia winning and moving on to the Super Bowl. AFC. In the AFC, I have the number 1 overall seed and home field advantage going to the Kansas City Chiefs. The number 2 seed going to the New England Patriots. Number 3 seed going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The number 4 seed going to the Indianapolis Colts. The number 5 seed going to the Cleveland Browns. The number 6 seed going to the Tennessee Titans. This is the way I see this working out. Divisional round: Tennessee versus Pittsburgh and Cleveland versus Indianapolis. I got Pittsburgh taking care of Tennessee, and then I have Cleveland with the upset over Indianapolis, if you call it an upset. Divisional round: I have Kansas City, or Cleveland versus Kansas City, which I think would be a spectacular game to watch, and Pittsburgh versus New England. Okay, I do have an upset here, and it's not the Browns. I have Kansas City beating Cleveland. However, I have Pittsburgh going into Foxborough and beating the New England Patriots, setting up an AFC title game of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Pittsburgh versus Kansas City. I have Kansas City winning that game. And I have a Super Bowl of the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And I have a shootout with Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles winning their second Super Bowl. Peace, y'all. That's my predictions. Let me know what I got wrong. Let me know what I got right. Let me know what your thoughts are in general. But I'm out here, y'all.